The Dreaming Gods. Subtitle: The Spirits of. Written by V.E.M. Biblical references: Matthew chapter 6, verse 24, Daniel chapter 10 and chapter 12, verse 1, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, Colossians chapter 2, verse 15, Romans chapter 8, verses 38 through 39, Ephesians chapter 3, verse 10, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 16 through 17, Psalm chapter 106, verses 36 through 37, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 20 through 21, Zechariah chapter 13, verse 2, and Revelation chapter 16, verses 13 through 14. Even if you don't believe the Bible, the passages are illuminating in regard to this article. Entities, or spirit beings, wear different names, faces across time and cultures. Same beings, living archetypes, usually similar patterns and roles. These are minds' spirits and project, inspire, thoughts, ideas. They prod and move the embodied. Dwelling as motes of light within the infinite waters, astral, that surrounds all things, unseen, quasi-figurative. Beginning as a single idea or set of ideas, ideologies, doctrines, philosophies, a single spirit personage, who draws others unto itself, forming a collective personage, a soul group centered on a master, a will, a love, a personage that becomes God form. They draw unto themselves other minds, souls, into realms of spirit and mind, forming collective visions that take on a life of their own, that we encounter as realms in the afterlife or while out of body. The oldest, the ancients among them, predate humanity by millions of years, having arisen from the spirits, gathering unity of life sparks, of nature, plants, animals. All living things have a spark or spirit. Swarms and hives share a collective spark, with each member of such collectives being like a cell in the brain thereof. These ancients might be considered the lords of nature, the gods, living prototypical archetype of the natural order, the dog king-queen, the deer king-queen, the shark king-queen, etc., often in paired couples that are mirrors of each other, anima and animus. There are among these also spirit beings that originated in other worlds, that came here as visitors long ago and were considered gods.
Still others were once human, ancient rulers who thought themselves gods, god kings, wise teachers who formed cult followings while still they were alive, who in the afterlife, Astral-Etheric, became soul groups that formed into singular entities born from many, many who became a singular will and being. These are often what was called the spirits of idols and the gods of old. We see the repeated myths of the new gods overthrowing the old. That is no mistake, but inspired ideas planted, seeded into the human collective. The battles beyond, struggle of wills, ideas, are played out among us here. The ancients of nature are consistently pushed aside by the lords of the world, civilization. Elders versus ancients, new ideas versus old ideas. Some of these lords align toward, or see themselves as aligned toward, the light, others toward the darkness, others toward the natural order, and still others toward diverse and strange paths and outcomes. The princes of the nations are beings that are personified representations, thought forms, born out of political social ideologies and nationalistic collective identities, a living melding of the national tribal values, virtues, myths, legends, and agendas, shifting or dividing as the national identity shifts and divides. The spirit of America, the spirit of China, the spirit of this party or that party, the spirit of... You get the idea. When tuning into ancient god forms for spirit communications, evocations, invocations, one is tuning into a culture, a mindset, the very people of those times and places. For their idols, god ideas, evolved into their astral deities. Such deities lose substance when forgotten, sleep, and in a sense die, reawakened or stirring when again invoked and fed with prayers, worship, invocation. At the core of almost every god form is usually a single spark or mind that began it all. The first mind, the first will that inspired or became the root pattern, the first consciousness that drew others unto itself. Among the ancients, the literal first prototype, first of its kind, and the first paired coupling thereof. Thus the idea of the raven from Noah's hand in the Twilight Sun song. Each of the Astral-Etheric gods have their realm, their sanctuary, and in knowing a name, a vision thereof, one might someday look upon them. Some of those realms are utterly horrific, in reflection of the mind spirit that governs it, that is it. Others are sublime. When the collective of humanity forgets these beings, so their realms fade and sleep. The souls that join with or walk along with these beings in this life will belong to them in death, and eventually the soul will remain with its Lord, while the spirit, spark, seed, is replanted to grow another soul. And that person, soul, will tend to continue in the path pattern it walked before, as a living representative of its cause. They walk in the spirit thereof. There are those few reflections of the original core being that represent the calling, acting to shepherd others into the collectives of mind and spirit, usually without conscious awareness of who and what they are, or what they are really serving, preachers and pundits alike. The sleeping ones, some part of them, always try to reach out to humanity, find receptive minds, hearts to converse with, and through that person, reactivate and reawaken, be remembered and return to the game, so to speak. Rarest among these, a certain dissident group of mind souls that are the true rebels, creator trickster, trying to shepherd souls into self-awakening and off the field, like PETA for humans, opening cages and releasing the lab animals, opening the pens to free the livestock. Of course, most livestock will never wander far and are easily herded back into the pens, even as most escape lab animals will be recaptured or put down. Those we think of as the true gods of any given time or place are merely the most popular, thus the most powerful minds, wills among the astral-etheric lords, and the most effective at shepherding and processing souls, spirits through their systems of control. You think, well, best to believe in nothing. Ha! That itself is a lord, and one of the darkest of all, an archdevil, in fact, Lord of Oblivion, Belial. Shalim. Imagine a refuge set apart, obscured, where no one is pressuring you to go back, but quite the contrary. No one is trying to eat your soul or trying to merge with you, but encourages you to be complete within yourself, your own immortal core, and ushers you onward into the infinite, beyond the prison of earth and its jailer hierarchy, the ranchers and farmers of souls. A place where the institutionalized can learn to live independently, before moving along to their own chosen destiny. Note, Shalim, one of the 70 sons of El, was originally assigned Urushalim, Jerusalem. The way off the merry-go-round. Individuation is, in my view, the only real way to escape. Of course, in alignment with that one being that stands above it all, Most High, the source of all, aka monad, pleroma, the one, etc. Perhaps even more so, monad abraxas, IAO, El Shaddai, Raza Rabba, for it best represents true individuation, integration of the whole self. Final note, every faction will always seek to keep people, souls' minds, from looking to others, from straying to other factions. Every lord is jealous for its own, as farmers and ranchers oppose poachers and put up "do not trespass" signs. Why Abraxas? I know it makes most of you uncomfortable. Abraxas does not have a single, direct, or settled translation, but it is most frequently understood as a mystical Gnostic deity, the highest god, or god above all gods. The name often represents a holy name, or blessed word, likely originating from a Greek formula meant to signify the 365 days of the solar year. Numerical solar significance. In Greek numerology, the letters in Abrasax, the older spelling, add up to 365, commonly representing the 365 heavens, the solar cycle, and a ruler of the cosmic order. Proposed etymologies. While its direct meaning is obscure, suggested roots include the Hebrew ha-baraka, the blessing, or Rabba Raza, father of the secret, and the Coptic abrck and sox, the holy word. Gnostic function. Described in this Reddit thread as the god above all gods, or God Almighty, Abraxas is considered a complex figure, representing the unity of good and evil, light and darkness, essentially the entirety of creation. Symbolism. Often depicted on talismans and 17th, 18th century amulets as a creature with a rooster's head, serpent-like legs, and holding a shield whip. So why? Because Abraxas is wholeness, complete, all, beyond everything and everyone. There is no need of a devil, because the one is not divided against itself. God does not need an enemy to be complete.